Calling the January 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Ayer Board of Health to order. Public input. Not seeing much. Whole business. Looks like, actually, most of this stuff does involve you, Bridget, one way or the other.
Yeah,
so,
no, I just, yeah.
Yeah, we'll just do the quick overview. So, animal and fowl, I know that 32 Washington Street and 3 Union Street those are the only two that are outstanding, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
32 Washington had the letter.
Yeah, that was
That was done by constable
okay.
on the 12th. I have a bill for that later.
Okay.
3 Union, they submitted, but it was incomplete.
Okay.
I did email and called, and then I did send them a certified letter of thank you for submitting. Please submit these missing documents.
Okay.
And if you would like, you can attend. And I listed
Okay.
the Board of Health meetings. I haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay. Email and... Okay, great, got it. Do you have any news, Bridget, on either of those? Anything new that you know about Union Street or Washington Street? No? Are you here to talk about either of those, Union Street or Washington? Okay, just checking, just checking.
No, I just wanted to public input if you haven't gotten to it yet.
Oh, okay, yep, you missed it at the beginning, but I don't mind backing up to, to pick it up. So I think what we need to do then is the point of serving with the constable was to get that start date. So let's just go forward, I think with that. I mean, let's vote on it because I think we should, but it is what the regulation says. But if you're interested in making a motion, what I'm kind of thinking is we do, what would be the best way to do this? We'll do a motion to send a communication in the appropriate way with the fee, beginning the fee structure from our regulation.
So I will make a motion to send communication
Yep, to
32 Washington Street to begin
The,
the fees,
yeah, the finding
the
from our
finding
regulation.
from our regulations.
As of
As of
that date of service would be the,
It'll be the 12th.
yeah, from the January 12th.
January 12th, as of 1/12.
Yeah.
Okay,
So moved? All right, I second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, not really sure if we have to vote, if it's just enforcing the regulation, but I think
I
it's
don't
worth
know.
it to get the date and the, you know, when are we beginning?
Want me to reach out to town council to find out?
Yeah, sure, because if you, especially if you happen to be talking to her and you know, and just ask about that,
Okay.
Okay.
that would be great.
So you and I can figure out how to send?
Yep.
Yeah, because this is one where it's going to have to be like the way Charlie finds for building department,
Yeah.
because the police wouldn't do it because it's, again, it's like, it's against our regulation, really. It's not
Okay.
it's not the animal inspector stuff, I think. So, or I'm sorry, animal control stuff. I misspoke. All right, so we'll follow up on that one next week. If you get the letter out, let me know if I need to sign it. Bridget can sign, anybody.
I might have you sign it
That's fine.
this time because you're the chair.
Sure, I can do that. Just let me know and I can come in. Tobacco violations, I know, I believe there's a
You said there was a
request.
phone call. Yeah.
So we did get a written request that was at last meeting for
Yeah.
Pauline's. But I heard from Tobacco Control regarding the 2 other violations. So sort of as clarity, they have ended up in this little grace period. They have 20 days from receiving the letter to either pay the fine, or they have 7 days from receiving the letter to send us in writing a request for a hearing.
Okay,
So the Vineyard received theirs on January 6th. and the Family Dollar received theirs on January 9th. As it is, neither have paid the fine or requested a hearing.
Okay. So, and they've got 20 days from the
Receiving
receipt, right?
from the
Okay.
receipt. So she told me when they received them, she sent them certified. So the Vineyard had until the 13th to ask for an appeal. They have until the 1st to pay.
Okay.
And then the Family Dollar had until the 18th to ask for an appeal.
Yeah,
And
so the
third-
appeal dates have
So the
passed.
appeal dates have passed. They have to pay by essentially the first week of February.
Okay.
And then from there, the board can decide what it wants
Okay.
to do.
So that one, we're gonna have to look at then at the next meeting, because they technically still have time left, right, to pay?
Okay, yeah, just,
Today's the 22nd.
Yeah, okay.
they have a little time left to pay.
Yeah,
but
not much.
not a lot.
Right. Couple of days for Vineyard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so that looks like a good break point. Thank you. Public input?
Absolutely, thank you for seeing me.
Sure. And your name?
Dennis Curran, C-U-R-R-A-N,
Okay.
Pleasant Street, 51 Pleasant Street in here,
Got it.
obviously.
I would hope. What can we do for you?
So these are concerns that I've raised with the Board of Selectmen and with Charlie previously, going back a year, maybe a year and a half. Last year, don't quote me, last year, I think maybe in the winter or spring, Charlie had, because, around dumpsters specifically, that is the placement of dumpsters, the location on the lot, the screening of dumpsters,
Yep.
and then there's a third matter. But for those first two, I was at the select board meeting last week on Tuesday, and I asked them, because it's my understanding evidently that you are the governing body for dumpsters. I had been going to Charlie asking him to enforce bylaws regarding that.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
And it was his view that he didn't have the authority to do that, and that the regulations were vague or unenforceable. When I pointed out the regulations regarding the screening of dumpsters, which are in the bylaws, that evidently only applies somewhere, and I'm not exactly sure how they have,
Okay.
but I do know that in the past, McDonald's was cited for, making sure that their dumpster was properly screened and that the enclosure was, in a particular location.
Yep.
I know that the Exxon Mobil downtown obviously has a screen, but that, for the most part, residential dumpsters are not, and they are placed in various spots on the lot, abutting the sidewalk, in some cases, pretty close to on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And that decision seems to be made by for the convenience of the cartage company. Wherever on the lot they think it's just easiest for us to pull in and pull out
Yeah.
is where the dumpster will go,
Yeah.
regardless of, the aesthetics of the situation or
Yeah, I know.
what have you.
I know.
So I think that that's something that should be looked at with the eye towards making the downtown more, attractive.
Yep.
And I think, I don't know if it came from you or DPW, but I think in the last, month and a half, 2 months, there was a memo that went out citing rodent problems in the downtown area.
Yeah.
Requesting, and I think that might kind of prompt a conversation about the screening of dumpsters, the fining for overloaded dumpsters, the placement of dumpsters throughout downtown. And, we've all seen them. I don't know if you live downtown, but we've all seen, there's one, behind, just back here, there's one parking lot that's got
Yeah.
5 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I understand. I do understand what you're saying, and I think that Charlie is probably right in that it is somewhat of a gray area. It's interesting that you say the bylaws covers screening, because as you were talking, I was thinking, well, we don't cover screening, but our reg does have a little bit about placement. But I think that it's limited more to, you can't place it like under an open window that's used for ventilation. They
So
can't
ours,
place.
we go by the housing code. We don't have separate, so what we look for is public health nuisances. The
Yeah.
fencing piece of it, we don't have any
Right,
control
that's not
over.
us.
No, but we look for if there's a public health nuisance, an uncovered dumpster, that's overflowing. I mean, obviously, this is something that, we're dealing with it all the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we typically, when we get phone calls, we'll go out, we'll drive by. And so, we wait usually a day or two before we call
Yeah.
because a lot of times the problem alleviates itself. But we also have had issues with companies not picking up. It has nothing to do with the people living there, but what we
Yeah,
are
I
concerned
know.
with as far as the housing code is making sure that the dumpsters are covered. For them, that's what's in our code.
So
Yeah.
as part of my conversation with the select board and with Charlie, I haven't spoken with Charlie in, maybe 9 months or a year,
Yeah.
since I brought this issue up,
Okay.
is that the bylaws and the regulations can be changed.
Yep.
That is, the town has the authority, I'm assuming,
Yes.
to kind
yes.
of regulate these things in
Yep.
the interests of the public interest.
Yep. Yeah, it does.
And to the extent that tighter regulation, increased regulation, more assertive enforcement actions
Yeah.
are necessary, then they're necessary.
Yeah,
About these
yeah.
specific, so I
think what you're asking for is really interesting.
I understand that the current bylaws are somewhat vague
Mm-hmm.
and don't properly address some of these concerns, although I think a broader interpretation might lead to another conclusion, but let's assume that that's all the case.
Yep.
I think it then falls to the town in the interests of, again, quality of life, livability, walkability, because in my view, if we can enforce against McDonald's, or at least kind of insist that they
Yeah,
abide
yeah,
by,
yeah.
which is located, we all know where,
Yep. Yep.
and not enforce against the most tightly compacted, most walkable, most visible parts of town, in my view, there's something amiss there.
So I understand.
Just out of curiosity, so when we we again go by the housing code. The bylaws are separate. So we
The
have,
housing code is,
so we enforce the housing code. The Board of Health enforces the housing code.
what's the housing code?
It's a state.
It's a state regulation. So that,
So it's like fit for.
right, so we don't
Something
go
be
by
fit for habitation.
aesthetics. The fencing is aesthetic. We don't, that's not required in here. That's something that is visual that, again, and one person will say they want aesthetically pleasing fencing, but then they get knocked
Yeah,
over because the dumpsters get placed in. But what we look for from the Board of Health perspective is if there's an issue with trash and it's overflowing, we cite, and a lot of times places that you're saying, like McDonald's, if we do a food inspection, which we have the food code, which is enforced, it's the state food code and the federal food code, trash is addressed in there, you have to have it covered in the area clean, and like you said, the dumpster has to be on a
Has to be on a pad.
Yeah.
right, like,
Yeah, yeah.
right, so that's what we look for. So if there's ever an issue and there's an overflowing dumpster, that, we can cite them, but,
Right.
again, that does happen. It's part of life. As you all know, we deal with that.
Yeah.
Everyone's
But I
always
hear-
complaining about, but what we do is we cite that. We call landlords, we talk to them, we try to even contact the dumpster companies to pull out the old dumpsters and put new dumpsters in that have covers. So, but that's what we enforce in here. That's the state 105 CMR 410.
Okay, so town bylaws, so who has the authority to regulate dumpsters in the town of Ayer?
Part of it is what group of people do we have the authority to regulate? So our regulation of dumpsters it's really limited to the in one way, under our trash hauler permit regulation, it only applies to the trash haulers themselves. So if you're going to get a permit to haul solid waste in this town,
Yep.
you've got to do certain things. And there is a section in there about putting dumpsters in the right place. But that doesn't apply to landlords. It doesn't apply to, a homeowner or a business that wants to put it somewhere. Then it turns into what Bridget is saying, and it's regulated under the health code, because that applies to, say, the landlord, whoever's renting that apartment. If it's a homeowner who's doing it, then it's their responsibility, so they can be fined. So a bylaw is maybe the better way to look at this is under nuisance bylaw, and I think you make a good point that these things could be changed, they can evolve, regulations and bylaws can evolve over time. And a bylaw applies to everybody.
Okay, fine, I'm not an attorney, don't hope to be one.
Yeah, no, but I understand what you're
so-
saying though, yeah.
So to what extent, that is, the building department, the enforcement,
Yep,
they clearly feel that they do not, and again, I have asked the select board
Yep.
to engage with the planning board, building enforcement or zoning enforcement, and you folks.
yep, got it.
To look at this matter and bring all three together,
Okay,
hopefully into the same room at the same time.
So I sit with Charlie and just every Monday, and just,
Yeah.
the other component of is aesthetically pleasing. You have to understand what is this, the housing code, which we refer to, that is again what we enforce. The landlords have to provide trash removal for a certain number of units. I think it's 3 or
I think it's when you get to 3,
I
yeah.
think it's 3. The code just changed. So, again, that's what we're looking for. So sometimes because of, based on lot size, these landlords only have a certain area to put that dumpster where it can be picked up. Otherwise, there's no trash pickup and the trash will end up in the yard. So we're looking at condensed areas where you only have one spot for a dumpster, but those landlords are required under this code to do trash removal.
Okay.
So what we look for, if there's ever an issue with an overflowing dumpster or something of that nature, like I said, Sam, how many times do we get phone calls?
Yeah.
And I mean, but we, again, it's like usually within a couple of days, the problem's resolved itself because the landlord does know it.
Yeah.
It's just the matter of either someone's moved out, someone's moved in. Our main goal is to make sure that health-wise, the trash isn't overflowing, it's not in the street. So that's what we govern, but then there's also the section that says that the landlord is responsible for that removal, which is why, again.
Yeah. But I do understand your frustration, that you're saying, can we, the powers that be in town, can we work together and figure this out, or decide if there is anything that...
Now, and again, I understand that this would require presumably some engagement with the public, the holding of a public forum to get competing views of this.
Yeah, I know. I think you're right.
that is all certainly acceptable. I mean, not for me to accept it. That is all, certainly as the
Thank
process
you for that. I appreciate that.
ought to play out. The interests of the landlords, the interests of the homeowners are not infinite. That is, we do not apply infinite value to what's important to them. And then lessen the value of what's important to the neighborhood, or what's important to the pedestrians, or what's important to the traffic going down those streets. I mean, it requires a cost. It requires a cost-benefit analysis, and frankly, for many, because I've lived from where I live, I see these things. For many of the especially 2-3 unit. The smaller units that have dumpsters. It's not at all clear to me that they really need them. That is, if they had those blue barrels which some people use, and they're picked up and they wheel the blue barrels
Yeah.
to the backyard and then bring them out, on trash collection day.
Yeah.
That would, given the amount of trash, that would certainly be suitable for a 2 or 3 unit apartment. But, the aging dumpster is sort of like a,
It's primarily the big metal dumpsters that you're,
well,
that
I mean, they're
kind
not
of
even,
envision,
by
right?
dumpster size, I mean, we're not talking construction.
Yeah, no,
dumpsters.
yeah,
We're
no,
talking
no,
something,
not those, but-
The average dumpster
5
that you
feet by.
see, yeah.
Yeah,
And the
yeah.
fact that it may cost the landlord a little bit more money to do it another way, or they have to, contract with a different cartage company or what have you,
Yeah.
that's not my concern. The fact that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
The fact that a for-profit entity might have to decrease their profit in order for the neighborhood to be more.
Right, but at the same time, we
Yeah, I
have
know.
people that are complaining about the blue bins and they don't like those bins either. So it's like,
We went through that,
it's,
too.
Yeah, I know.
it's, we can't make what we're here for is to make sure that the trash is picked up and that it doesn't create a public health nuisance.
Okay, I heard you.
Yep, that's what I cite for anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does this body have the authority to, would this body be someone who would weigh in on this topic in an effort to change the bylaws in to better define what constitutes
Right,
nuisance?
right. Yeah, I got you.
To refine enforcement actions so
Yep.
both, Charlie for that matter, and you
Yeah,
folks
yeah.
understand if there's a violation, who is supposed to enforce it, or to recommend that the dumpster or blue bins need to be more
Yeah.
than 5 feet away from a fence, or they can't be on the sidewalk.
Yeah, yep, I got you.
So-
What I don't think, I'm just being perfectly honest with you in my opinion, but I would like to research this further. I don't think that we as a board have the authority to regulate it beyond what the health code requires.
I understand.
But as a resident, and I know, I live on a little dead-end street down near Grove, and the trash haulers have a hard time getting, in and out of that street, too. So I think that's also part of the problem, especially in those congested neighborhoods like yours and mine, where a trash hauler may not be able to even get into some areas. So, yeah, I know it.
So
And I hear what you're saying, is that is their right to be able to do business on any street in Ayer above the residents, right?
Yeah, and
I hear that.
again, I think there are, on a case-by-case basis, there are solutions here.
Yeah.
But my overriding point is that I think it's important for I, as a resident, and all the, property owners,
Yeah.
that we get a more livable, more aesthetically pleasing, more healthy, environment to live in. And if it requires some change to the behavior of cartage companies
Yep,
or real estate investors,
yep.
then it's okay that cartage companies and real estate investors have to change their behavior.
Yeah, I think that the right vehicle to do that is probably through the nuisance bylaw, but I'm interested because of the way that this kind of, intersects with a lot of different departments. Can we exchange phone numbers?
Yeah,
Can
yes,
I-
I'm in, yes, 978.
Oh, you don't have to do it. We're on.
Oh, I'm
like,
sorry.
Public,
Okay.
if you
Yeah,
don't, I don't
won't do
care,
that.
but.
I am in the town email system.
Oh, okay,
But I will,
great. Okay.
I will write down my phone number and give it to you.
Yeah, please do, because I have to read our trash hauler again in comparison to like the nuisance bylaw
Right,
and
there's
I want to see how they
Sure,
sort of
but my
line up.
general sense of, and again, because blight and nuisance
Yeah,
bylaw are two.
yeah.
My general sense has been over the last 3 years that from an enforcement perspective,
Mm-hmm.
the words blight and nuisance are meaningless. That is,
That's true.
we talk about the nuisance means X, Y, and Z, and you walk down, because, I mean, we all know many pieces of property highly visible in town
Yep.
over the last 15 or
Yep.
20 years, that any reasonable person looking at it
Right.
would
Can
say,
see
"This
that it's
is blight."
degraded, yeah.
would say,
Yeah,
this is a nuisance.
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
this is pollution, you know. pick a
Yeah,
word.
yeah, I got you.
And I have cited those previously with folks in town and been told, and when I say, well, so for 15 or 20 years, this has been okay, and you are not capable of, or you are helpless to compel change.
I think it's difficult to change bylaw. It's not easy. You have
No,
to
I
get a
see.
lot of
Yeah.
support
Go
behind
to
it.
town meeting and.
Yeah, but the reason that I think that the nuisance bylaw, which isn't that old, it's what, maybe 6, 7, it's one
No, I
of
remember
the
those,
newer
I
bylaws.
understand.
Yeah,
I remember
those
going to the
discussions?
public hearings, I
Yeah,
remember the
yeah, okay,
outcry, I
me too.
remember the people not wanting their lawn ornaments to be considered.
Yeah.
I remember all of that.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Well,
You
one
know?
man's trash is trash.
Yeah, a lot of times that's true too. But the very existence of that bylaw was a step towards acknowledging the fact that there are quality of life issues that have to do with the way things look and whether they're ratty. And, do you have to kind of live in that environment, or should we agree on some minimum standards?
That's right.
So that's where I'm thinking probably it would make the most sense to focus it. But I think it's interesting. I'd like to engage
No, I think that
with you
your
further on
input,
it.
I think that, because,
That is a
especially
health
around,
issue, but I'm
especially around
interested.
dumpsters, I think
Yeah.
your input is going to be required, I think, on that particular issue, so.
And from our perspective, and please keep in mind, I mean, Sam takes the phone calls with me. We're here for public health. And again, your aesthetics and what you see as aesthetically pleasing is completely different from what I see and what Sam sees. And during COVID, we were getting phone calls from people. And again, we're doing food inspections, we're doing housing inspections, septic, well, general nuisance. We're not just always sitting here. And we're getting calls from people, and the legit phone calls that, now I'm working from home, I shouldn't have to look at my neighbor's dumpster. That's not a Board of Health issue. What we're looking at is the overall, aesthetically pleasing is not Board of Health.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what
Yeah.
we try
That's
to tell
the
people.
line, pretty
So
much.
if you ever see a dumpster that's overflowing or dripping, leaking, and again, keep in mind, we see them, but what you don't see or hear are the phone calls that we get. We're trying to work with landlords. What happened also, and it's not an excuse, it's just a fact, trash haulers are not picking up trash. They don't have people working for them. They're
enough
missing.
staff.
So
Yeah.
they're struggling. We try to call. We've actually at some point even said to them, we're going to have you in for a meeting. It's not that we don't know, but what we're looking at
Yeah.
is the public health implication. And again, if the dumpster's overflowing, not covered, if we go to McDonald's or any food establishment and there's an issue, we cite them. We, again, and it's the ones that you mentioned, gas stations, like, we don't require that they have that fencing. Sometimes that even gets to be a nuisance because the fencing prohibits from proper cleaning, and that's where we had an issue with rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so you don't, so the issue around screening would go to the planning board or the
I
zoning?
really.
I would say,
No,
Yeah.
that's fine.
I think so.
That I would
I
say.
understand that.
Yeah.
On the issues of overflowing dumpsters, so I should send you
Yeah.
pictures of any overflowing dumpster
Yeah,
I
on the
see.
issue of overflowing,
Yeah.
we don't need any additional.
right.
Okay.
And we know where,
Sure you want
listen,
me chiming in on this?
So I drive around, I mean, I'm in
Yeah.
town. Sometimes, I can tell you the frequent flyers. That I get emails all the time, and before I can even get to the landlord, the dumpster's empty. And I mean, again, it's one of those things. I've worked here for 26 years, so I know every crevice and space and dumpster and.
So at the risk of being glib,
Yeah.
there's an overflowing
Yes.
dumpster. One of the ones in the parking lot there, 6 or 8 of them lined up. One of them is,
Yeah, and again.
On Newton Street?
what's that?
On Newton Street?
Yeah, one of them. I mean, the smaller one is overflowing as we speak.
Yeah.
Because I had to drive past it in order to get it.
So once the dumpster is emptied, and so it's not a nuisance, but so this is what we do, or what I do. either I get the phone call directly, go out, view it, write it down,
Yeah.
and then go by again in a day or two, and usually it's resolved. If not, then what I do is I will try to reach out to the homeowner, and then, I mean, we have like a list of phone numbers. If Sam gets the call, she'll call me and ask, send an email. We being me, myself and I, go out and view it.
True.
And again, in some cases we send letters, in some cases we know the landlord, and in some cases we have to really push them. I understand, because it drives me bonkers too,
Yeah.
keep it covered. There are some places too where the first of the month, the last of the month, people are moving in and out. And but
Yeah.
I completely understand your concern, and we see it and we feel it, but we also get phone calls from people that they just simply don't like where their neighbors' barrels are, and I can't do anything about
Yeah.
that.
So how often are cartage companies fined for failure to pick up? Or
We haven't fined anyone for complete failure to pick up. We have gone, not the hauling companies.
Right.
We have gone after landlords and property owners that have refused to get rid of stuff. But against the actual trash haulers, I don't think we have ever.
Right, so what
So you
happened?
regulate cartage companies?
Yes, right.
And didn't you say that it's the cartage company that has control of the dumpster and that you...
No, we
Sometimes-
have a couple of things. Make sure I get your email address, because
Yeah.
I can send you links to a couple of things. You'll see in our regulation that our regulation is it's all geared to issuing a permit. That's the only way we can regulate these companies, is that in Massachusetts, you have to have a permit in that municipality. So in there are a few conditions, sort of general conditions on dumpsters.
And these
that
are the state regulations?
Yeah, they follow the ones like that Bridget is saying about, like, you can't have them right near the doorway or under an open window in a restaurant or.
So let's just say Pam, because you live in there,
Yeah.
had an overflowing dumpster.
Yeah.
I cite her under the housing code.
When you say she lives in there, she is the tenant, the homeowner,
She's a property owner, so she is the property owner, and she's responsible for her single-family house.
Yeah.
And her dumpster that she got is overflowing.
Yeah.
So what I do is cite her under the housing code, and that's very specific. We send them a letter. You're required to fix this within a certain period of time. If Pam fixes it within a certain period of time, that violation is no longer
Yep.
a violation, and then if she does it again, it's a separate violation. So,
and you can rack up as many violations as...
well, if they
without-
fix it,
No, I know, but...
You mean before they get fined, how many violations?
So Pam's in violation, she gets the notice, she fixes it. 3 weeks later, Pam is in violation, she gets the notice and fixes it. 7 days after that, Pam's in violation, she gets the notice and fixes it. 2 months after that,
Yeah.
we can't
Yeah.
fine her because
Oh.
she's in compliance by the housing code.
You're
standard.
saying chronic.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So we have never had, I have never really, I'm not gonna say never, I can't recall when that has happened, because they always fix it.
no, but is the they you're referring to the same they?
Well, yeah, I mean, when we cite people,
Yeah.
they fix it. So that, under the housing code, we can't,
Right, but that's the kind of thing that I think we ought to, we as the town, again, I understand that your town officials, I guess you're an official associated with a more regional board,
correct.
and none of us here, well, the three of you and I don't work for the state.
Right.
So, for the purposes of the town of Ayer,
Yeah.
I think that we should kind of look at trying to kind of improve this situation. And I know I'm probably keeping you too long here. And so I will give you my phone number if you want to give me
Yeah,
a piece of paper.
let's do that. Let's
And
exchange.
my last point-
Actually, you know what? If you give it to Sam, why don't you then just email it out. Sam is the point of contact, a good point of contact to get a hold of any of
Give me your
us.
So-
phone number and name and email, and I will make sure.
So my email is in the town email system. I'm on the Council of Aging.
Oh,
perfect.
okay. I knew I saw that name
Okay.
before.
And this has nothing to do with, it's
No.
not 6,927. I mean, who knows down.
This is as a resident.
That's right.
Perfect.
And,
I will make sure.
and lastly, in terms of cartage companies, and again, I know I think it would be helpful to look at, as part of the permitting process, the times and days of possible collection
Yeah.
for the trash.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how many cartage companies have business here, but dozens perhaps? I mean, there are.
There's about a dozen, I would say. We have there's a dozen that
And
are
they are
permitted.
taking laps around downtown, Monday through Saturday, anytime
Yeah.
between 8 AM and 6 PM.
Yep.
And different companies have different houses, and around
Yep,
and around it goes.
absolutely, yeah.
If you've ever lived near or by the clanging, the high-powered diesel, all of it.
I know.
So I think it would be I think it would be helpful to look at perhaps regulating that, days of collection will be Tuesday and Thursday between 8 AM and 6 PM perhaps.
I don't know how much
I don't think you
overreach
can.
I don't,
Because that,
Us.
again, that's not just Ayer, that's every town, literally. That happens in Groton, they all have, all these same trash companies run in the same things with trash haulers that you're seeing through Ayer, happens in Groton, Stowe, Shirley,
So-
Harvard.
So you're saying that the town does not have the authority to regulate the times and dates of trash collection?
What you can do is if you didn't have a transfer station and the town had trash pickup solely.
yeah, if we had a
that would
town contract, we would.
That would be
because people
something.
ask all the time, how do you, because that does come up all the time.
Yeah.
Believe me, like,
So
They're
again, so
offering a legal service for sale.
but if
in
the
state.
town had trash pickup,
No, but as part of the permitting process, you can't require cartage companies to. No. So could a bylaw do that?
I don't think you can
Yeah, I'm
tell a
not sure.
company what times and places that they have
Well,
to,
in my view, of course you could.
well, I mean, especially where like Bridget.
You can't do that at 3 in the morning. You can't do that after 6
Well,
PM.
that is different.
No, I
No,
understand.
but that stuff is in
I
there.
mean, there is any number of regulations that
That's
can be
in-
applied.
Yeah.
You can't have your dog off a leash anywhere within the town of Ayer,
Yep.
right?
Right.
I mean, there are any,
Bylaws.
you can't have a sign bigger than X.
Yeah, no, I
That's
understand
all.
what you're saying.
Yeah, but
right.
you can't,
Yeah.
I don't think you have the authority to tell these companies that share more than one town, they go to Groton, they go to, how can you regulate what time they come into the town? Of course, it's not gonna be 3
No,
AM.
we're not regulating what time they come into the
I
town.
mean, what time
We're
they're
regulating-
basically
picking
trying to
up.
tell them what day to
What
come here.
days they can come in.
No,
Yeah.
days?
well, you can, if you want a permit in this town, you should pick up the trash between X and Y.
Neither the emptying of dumpsters nor
Yeah.
the collection of solid waste in residential zoning districts shall commence before 7 AM and
No,
shall not continue
right. Yeah.
beyond 7 PM.
Right,
And
no,
that's
I
that
understand
will
that there are some, but what, I think that given and again, this will all play out because I will talk to the planning board as well.
Yeah, yeah, please do.
And they may have the same view. They may have a different view. But it would seem to me that the town ought to be able to regulate those things in some manner, because otherwise it's,
Right. It may be possible to do through the bylaw.
all right.
It may
all right.
very well be
Look at it,
possible.
but-
That's why
yeah.
I want to look
Yeah.
at the
Yeah, yeah,
regs
yeah,
and the
yeah, yeah.
bylaw.
So you've got my
I
phone
need to
number.
educate
I'll
myself.
make sure she, that's it. And
I am in the town email system.
Okay.
If you just want to touch
Okay.
base and I will start sending pictures.
Okay, all right.
Guarantee I already know where they are. Believe me, there's a,
No, I understand,
Yeah,
but again,
yeah.
if, my whole purpose in this, that is, I don't think, those who live in Ayer, should merely accept the fact that there's nothing we can do. Right?
Yep, not
That
saying there's
if
nothing
you
we-
wanna
definitely-
maintain
I
your
never say
property
there's
like-
nothing we
If you want
can
to
do.
maintain your property like that, there's nothing
Yeah.
we can do. If you want to have deteriorating dumpsters or trailers rotting into the ground or boats stored wherever
Mm-hmm.
or over, there's, sorry, I don't think
hear you.
is acceptable or should be acceptable.
That's the kind of stuff that goes under a nuisance bylaw. So I think what
Okay.
we're doing is some tweak of that, but I will definitely follow up with
Email
you.
me, I'm the Board of Health contact in the
okay.
And I'll do a little bit more research.
All right, fair enough.
All right.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for coming to visit us. Okay, Bridget, let's pack your
Oh, you
stuff
have to
so that I
go. She
can,
has
yeah.
to, yeah.
So you gave us for consideration a actually an example motel regulation it's from Mattapoisett, right? Is that-
Do you want to deregulate the other one first?
Oh, yeah, you want to do the early,
Okay.
easier one first? Yeah, outdoor wood burning boilers, okay.
Okay.
Outdoor wood burning boilers, does anybody feel like making a motion that we retire that regulation because it's covered by the state?
I will make a motion to retire the outdoor wood burning boilers regulation,
Board of Health
Board
regulation.
of Health regulation, because it is outdated.
Okay, and I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done.
Yay!
So we can just make that like a rescinded or canceled or whatever we
I will
typically do.
remove it somewhere.
Okay. And body art, are you, I don't even know if you had a chance to,
I think they're fine the way that they are.
you think they're fine? Okay. Okay. Then if you have, did you think of a format or find
I
a format?
did.
we
So
should
I
use for
did
this?
reformat all of the body art regulations because the file was ancient and my Word didn't like it.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
So
Yeah.
it's all the same. I just changed the formatting.
Okay.
And then I have added this at the bottom. It's reviews and updates.
Oh, okay. You put the
that.
dates. I like that.
Yeah.
At the
So those are
bottom.
the last few times it was reviewed and updated, and then
thank
we
you,
can
Susan.
keep going.
All right, I like that. So this has no changes, it's just, it's
It's
updated.
just prettier looking.
It's prettier. And so this is the one from 2001, and it's the one that we reviewed. It's original to 2001. The last time the board reviewed it was in January of 2012, and then again in May of 2019. And then those were just, they weren't.
It looks like there were no edits. I found some notes. It looks like it was formatting changes, and
Yeah.
there was a couple of spelling things, it looks like. So regs are the same.
All right. You good with that, Bridget?
Yes.
We do this as a reviewed? Okay. In that case, then, I will hear a motion. Let me give this back to you. So I think the motion would be to just document that we reviewed and we're
Satisfied?
accepting, it's continued valid with no changes needed.
Okay, I make a motion that the Board of Health has reviewed the regulations and continue,
That we've reviewed, what was the date of the last review? Let's try to get that in.
I'm sorry,
May of 2019.
that we reviewed the last date of reviewing the
Yeah, the one done
regulations
in,
of May 19th.
May 2019.
May 29th, or May 19th of,
No, May 6th of 2019.
May 6th of 2019. Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
my gosh. And we are, what are we doing? Reaffirming with no
Reaffirming,
changes.
no changes.
Reaffirming no changes. So move.
So,
Get that, Sam?
yes.
Yep, I got it. We recorded it. I'll figure that out.
Okay, perfect.
It's recorded.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, aye.
And I will
God.
place those, and that's
A lot of words.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I'm terrible at this. So motel. So we have something new to look at there. And the need for this is that it's one of those things, it's just kind of, it's covered in various places. There's pieces of it in the state regulations, and there are,
Well, I think there's
know.
a lot of things that, one of the things it says too in the, I think it's a Mass General Law, is that the hotels and motels are inspected from time to time, but it doesn't give a time frame, and nor does it specify what we should be looking for. So some towns have, I think, taken, you know, some of this comes from bits and pieces from complaints. You know, what are, and from a public health standpoint, what are we looking for? Kind of all back to the same stuff that is in the housing code. But for hotels and motels, we look for things like the clean linen, we look for trash. We look if there's a pool, is it in compliance with the pool code? If they're serving food, are they in compliance with the food code? Things like ice, where you're making sure that it's coming from a potable source. You know, again, you know, time frames. A hotel and motel is, it's for transient guests, so it's to make sure that that's what that facility is actually being used for. The electronic registration system, that's something that I recommend adding in, because that's really the best way to know who's staying, and that information can be relayed to the police department, the Board of Health, instantly if necessary. And things like furniture, making sure that if, you know, we're doing inspections and the furniture's not clean, that it's removed. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I think I've learned a lot in the past few years.
It's kind of taking all of what we do in these hotel, motel inspections and kind of putting them into one place, you know.
Right, and I think it's too, from COVID, we learned a lot from that as well. But this just helps us have a guide of things to look for, but it keeps the hotel and motel operator, you know, it lets them know what we're looking for too. And I don't think anything of it, I mean, I think Mattapoisett has a good set of regulations, and then Natick, there was a section in there that I liked, just regarding the furniture. And bedding and furniture. So I just kind of outlined that, which I thought was pretty, I mean, you can.
Oh, that's section 5, this one? Section 5.
I did print them out.
You did? Never, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So good.
I know.
I tried to
Section
make it look
5,
like
yeah,
air,
yeah.
but it's a PDF, so then I got that up.
So, I mean, that was, you know, in talking to council, she recommended it as well, because again, it gives us something in writing to enforce.
It's good to have it clear on both sides, I think. The only things that I saw that I would add to that is in the town of Bourne regulations, which is close to Mattapoisett, and they read almost exactly the same.
That's what towns do. They.
It makes sense.
And I think this one actually does too. It talks about efficiency units, and so that's kind of nice in a way. It's talking about what these different sort of categories of things are. And,
and it's anything, because the cabins
was the one that Bourne has that this one doesn't. But a cabin and an efficiency unit are probably
the same thing, and it's that kitchenette thing. And I think something too in here, you know, again, for the rooms, they can't, it spells out not using certain cookware, and I think space heaters and stuff like that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, it's the public health part of it.
Yes.
Public health side of hotel motel. Okay, so this, when you sent this to me, I'll make sure that Steve sees it. I would say just let's read it, think about it, what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and let's try to, and I'll just send Steve a reminder too that let's try to come to the next meeting kind of hopefully ready to say, yeah, let's just change this or that or whatever. So.
And I can try and get a draft together by the next meeting of all the bits and pieces.
Yeah, we can submit, that might be a good way to do, to submit comments, and maybe you can do like a sort of master comment.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Bridget. That's awesome.
Thank you.
We'll try to get that ready to go next week.
Okay.
So I think for review of regulations, I kind of think that we should probably spend the time to get this motel regulation done. But the next one that I would like to do after that, because I think it's going to be easy, and I'll do it because I did some of the work on it the last time, but it's that aquifer thing. I think that one's going to be just an easy retire it.
Yeah.
Because it's covered under
Yep.
something else.
Yep.
So I will do the research on that, but I'll let you know whether to put it on the agenda for next
And
time.
I'll talk to Danny, the
Okay.
town planner,
Yeah.
to make sure, I'll get the regs that they're using and make sure we all coincide with each other.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, they absolutely convinced me when the change to the bylaw went
Yeah.
through that, oh yeah, it says that clearly in the law, that the special permit granting authority, it's not
It
us.
is them, but
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah,
talk with him to make sure there isn't, while they may grant the permit, are they using our regs? If they're using our regs, then should they adopt, like,
yeah, that's a good
make sure
question.
make sure we don't lose it somewhere.
That's a really good question. Yeah, let me know how that turns
Yeah,
out.
I'll
And
talk to
if
him.
it looks like it's going to be more involved than we think, then I'll talk to Danny. We'll
figure it out.
we'll do the footwork. Okay, great. Thank you. Anything other than that on regs? I don't think so. Bridget, Nishoba, what's going on?
I'm just trying to think. I feel like there's like, I've had some housing situations come up.
Okay.
None of them have warranted me going out to do an inspection yet.
Okay.
I think there's other issues going on
Okay.
with that, but we're on it. That's the
Okay.
best I
All
can,
right.
and Sam is too.
Okay.
She's in the call.
They call it today again? Okay.
Called Friday.
Okay, all right. So, again, we're, there's
Yeah, okay.
some strange things happening out in the world.
Okay. No more reported rats, right?
I haven't had anything, and I've been driving by.
Good.
Again, I think the biggest situation with the rats is the chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's a definite correlation, and I really think that maybe at some point, again, we just do some basic education and put it on social media. I'm not sure what else to do to get people to understand that they have to take responsibility for their property.
Maybe we could do something right around renewal time.
Yeah,
Sort of
yeah.
pair them all together of
Yeah.
fun facts about chickens in Ayer.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
You need a permit. Please do that.
I mean, if you think, we could even do a handout for town meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I
Facts
just,
about rats.
Is there something in the permitting process that, like a little thing a little
maybe
added
maybe when we do the renewals,
asterisk or
we
something?
send out a one pager. Know that one pager?
Yeah.
We send that out with them because so that all the people
Yeah.
that need to get it are getting it.
Yeah.
And what to look for.
Yeah.
Just because
Exactly.
that is not a fun.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that sounds good. But let's think about it. If you want to do something more educational, along the idea of just letting everybody, I'm not sure if everybody that moves into this town knows they need a permit to have
I've
a
had
chicken.
quite a few people come to me and go, my neighbor said I needed a permit. And
Right.
they're very confused because
Because in some surrounding towns, you don't.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, so maybe that's something we might want to do for town meeting.
Yeah.
Do a little chicken facts with Bridget and Pam.
And Sam.
And Sam, yeah. Just us hens.
Oh my God, that was funny, Pam.
I know. I can crack myself up. Anything else exciting?
I don't think I do. I do want to just sort of kind of go back to the trash thing.
Yeah.
That, it has always been the Board of Health, that our perspective is, the public health piece is, are the dumpsters covered? And are they being emptied? Because, again,
Yeah.
are we going to start going and telling people, like with tape measures, to move dumpsters and move trash bins? I just,
Yeah.
I would,
No, because I think that we have to kind of stay in our own lane. You know?
Right, and I try to
We
tell-
only regulate the health-related aspect.
Well, and
of
that's,
it.
and I think the thing too is that, you know, we have to, on some levels, we might not like it, but what, you know, again, aesthetically is pleasing to one person is
Yeah.
not to another. And,
Oh, I know. I know.
you know, it's like, you can't,
Absolutely.
the enforcement piece of it, and I always tell people this, is we have to be able to, at some point, if the enforcement isn't being done, we have to go to court. And if we go to court, is a judge gonna throw this out? I mean, what leg do we have to stand on? Even
And,
with
yeah.
bylaws, even with, because, you
Yeah, I
know,
know.
again, it's, that whole issue with the rats and things like that, one of the biggest hindrances was the fact that that dumpster was encased in something. It was very hard to get back there and
Yeah.
clean.
Yeah.
And they ended up, I think, just moving it all together, but
Yeah.
by doing something to aesthetically please can
Right,
actually.
solving one problem can create another.
Right,
Yeah.
and I think that
Yeah.
really, you know, from a public health standpoint, what, you know,
Yeah.
it's not popular. This thing keeps.
No, we've always
buzzing.
got to do the greater good.
Right,
Because we're
right.
never going to be able to
Right.
do what's absolutely right for everyone, so we've
Right.
got to look at.
And it's, you know, even with, when we do the comments now on subdivisions and things like that,
Yeah.
I always try to comment on making sure that there's a spot for trash, because, you know, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you
Yeah,
don't. It's like you have a
yeah.
dumpster, but then one person doesn't like a dumpster, but then you have a whole bunch of
Yep.
bins, and then the bins are in the road, and it's like,
And they tip over and they,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like,
Hey, toilet bowl flower planters. Is there any more divisive gardening topic in
Yes.
the world? So,
Yeah.
some people think they're wonderful. Some people think they're
right.
absolutely hideous. And I'm not going to say what group I fall into, but it's a very divisive topic. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So,
And I mean, it's like, and I've explained to people, you know, I have had to stand before a judge and I've had to answer these questions. And it's one thing for someone to make a complaint,
Yeah.
but it's another thing for people to understand that we're the ones that have to defend it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, go
Yeah.
to court. And it's, you know, really ultimately the biggest issue is making sure that the dumpsters are covered and they're not overflowing.
And I understand how frustrating this gentleman, he's really on it now.
yeah.
And he's citing the ones, he's the chronic offenders, obviously.
Yeah.
And the question that he asked us about the fining process, or, you know, sending them a letter, and then, like you said, Bridget, they fix it, and it keeps happening. You can't, unless it happens like all the time, and they get to the point where they're fined.
Well, we can get to a point. It's like it's
that
like
won't happen.
restaurant inspections. We could get to a point where we could ask the landlord to come in, right?
So what we do, and what happens, and I mean, it's happened to us. People find the dumpster and they use it. And you know, the
Yes.
landlord, so the thing is
Yep.
full and it's due to be picked up. And a lot of the landlords are very receptive and responsive.
Yeah.
I actually have to say, I haven't had any pushback.
Yep.
What I've had to do is because the landlords have had some trouble with certain, and it's more in the past. I think things are
Yeah.
getting a little bit better.
With the haulers,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I've
and
had to call the
staffing.
haulers.
Getting better on my street.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just, you know, overall, it's like we try our hardest,
Yeah.
and I know I work on Mondays with Charlie, and it's like we'll go over these issues
Yep.
constantly, and it's not like they're being ignored. It's just if we
Yeah,
see a
yeah.
dumpster, that dumpster is picked up every week. But occasionally you'll have tenants moving in and out. Occasionally you'll have people misusing the dumpster.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, the other thing too that happens is, I know when our hauler was having a lot of problems, our day is Tuesday, but then whatever, they ran late on Tuesday, so they're gonna get it on Wednesday. But
there's a
then
Monday
somebody called
holiday.
in sick, so then but by Thursday it's gone.
And what I say
So-
to people is really, because,
Yeah, it's tough.
and it's an answer that some people do not like to hear, but how do you alleviate it? Really? You have town trash pickup.
Yeah.
Everybody's picked up
Yeah.
on the same day.
Yeah.
People are given barrels, and the problem at that point is,
I'm not
I
sure
don't
I
know
can
if-
survive another transfer station debate. I don't know. But maybe it's time to think about it again.
I mean,
That was
it's
a
just
while ago.
from a
Yeah.
perspective of again, from that perspective of the Board of Health, when people ask me, how do you fix it, that's how you fix it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't like to hear it, but that's,
Yeah, I know what you're saying, though. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
so,
Yes.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
consider.
Yeah, good luck with
thank you.
your hounds. Call log, we kind of, I guess, dispensed with
Yeah.
already. We just have the two little calls.
Yeah.
Minutes, I am fine with
Yes,
minutes.
I
read minutes.
got them. I'll make a motion to accept
The minutes of,
January
jeez. Don't watch me, you'll really get screwed up. Is it January
Yeah.
8th? Yeah, okay, thank you.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the Board of Health minutes from January 8th, 2023.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we just sign this one?
Yeah, just, no.
Okay, there you go.
Just add it.
And mail bills.
I have a bill. I
Okay.
have one bill.
Hey, Bill.
It is constable delivery fee of $75.
Oh, gosh. All right.
I was just curious to see who the constable is now. It used to be Mr. Page.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's Marty Wallace.
Yeah.
Is it Marty? A side hustle.
I made Mike take care of it.
Should we, vote? I guess we should vote on this,
Yeah.
You do?
right?
You just
I
have
don't
to
know.
vote to pay it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I make a motion to pay the constable for serving a violation delivery from the Ayer Board of Health.
Okay. You-
Do I have to,
Amount?
do I,
Yeah,
in the
just say
amount of
the
$75?
Yeah, that should cover it.
Do I say the address?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
We're okay? Okay, so that was your motion?
Yes.
So moved. I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, he's the one we've been using. There's two other constables, but
Yeah.
Charlie's the other one, so he wasn't gonna do it.
Yeah, it's,
There you go.
And then Sam Goodwin wasn't in town, so.
oh,
Well, okay. Trash hauler.
Two. I have two. I was gonna call you to come sign them, but they were taken care of on Friday, so.
Okay, yeah, we're close enough.
So I've got Republic Services
Okay,
and Prime Disposal.
okay,
We are still missing one trash hauler.
all right. These guys are
They're all set. They're fine. They paid.
awesome.
They got me their last few things.
Awesome. Who's left?
M. Sullivan and Sons.
Okay.
He sent stuff in. It was incomplete. He didn't. Yeah, it was completely incomplete. I did call them. From what I understand, they don't have an email. They don't have a. I think it's
wow.
a husband and wife team. It's very small.
Oh,
So
okay.
getting a hold of them,
Okay,
like I
got
called
it.
and his wife picked up. She's like, he's in the truck. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay, all right. So you're still working with them. Are they a renewal or are they new?
They're a renewal.
Okay.
We've had them. It looks like years.
Okay, all right. So they kind of know what they need. It's
Yeah.
just getting a hold of them. All right.
so am I making a motion to grant both of these permits? Or do I,
Yeah.
you just signing? All right, I'll make a motion to grant a permit to Republic Services of Dunstable Road in Tingsboro, Mass. for trash hauler waste permit. And also grant a permit to, solid waste hauler permit to Prime Disposal LLC, East Main Street in Ayer.
All right, I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I am signing. And this is the 22nd, right?
It is.
Oh, are you going my way? Can you
Yeah.
drop me off? Sure. Okay, all right, thanks.
Sam, you all set?
Stop
Need a
to
ride?
think, do I need to? Do I need to text on to pick it up? I wasn't so lazy, I could just walk home. It's not
Oh,
like
it's
that
cold,
far.
it's
Jeez.
All right.
All right, so items for upcoming meetings. What is our next scheduled meeting?
February 12th?
February 12th. So what I have so far is the motel regs. February 12th. We may have a tobacco hearing that night.
Okay.
The gentleman is supposed to return on the 11th.
Okay,
I may suggest we do it the one after that because
Okay.
I think he's coming back from India. So
oh, okay.
I don't know how that's going to
Okay,
work for
okay.
him. I will email him and let him know.
Okay.
So we may have one.
And is that that's for Pauline's? Okay. All right.
And what was the other thing that we were?
We are looking at, okay, tobaccos. Oh, we might have a follow-up on the animal and fowl permit situation, so that'll probably go on again. Let's keep that update on until we close that one out.
Yep.
Okay. All right, awesome. And then do we also then have the 28th? We have 2 meetings in February,
I
right?
should have 2 meetings in February.
And the 26th. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. All right, perfect. It doesn't start to get bad until we get
Yeah.
into April. Okay,
And that's,
perfect.
like we agreed on, if we have to meet during the day,
Yeah.
or if we go down to 1 meeting a month, so be it.
Yeah, I think when we get past getting this new regulation
Mm-hmm.
in, and then we should really consider, do we want to do maybe 1 evening meeting a month? It's
Yeah.
that's our standing meeting, we're always there, public can count on it to
Yep.
go to, but then, have that other meeting in the month be during the day or as needed, or, let's talk about that when Steve is here. He's vacationing again this week.
Okay.
All right.
And then I had one thing which didn't end up on the agenda because I didn't know I was going to do it. I was looking through our tobacco regs because I wanted to make sure our violators we weren't running into deadlines and things.
Yeah, thank you.
One of the things I did notice in our regulations is we have 20 permits to give out total
Okay.
as of 2018. However, as each business leaves, that permit goes away forever and the total number decreases.
Oh,
So we started with 20 and I ended up going through going, uh-oh, how many have disappeared since 2018?
interesting, yeah.
So we have lost 4 businesses with
Okay.
permanently retired permits, meaning technically we have 13 total in town. We can have up to 16, so we only have 3 open tobacco permits.
Okay.
So, but just sort of I wonder how
Like an
close to that
FYI.
line we are.
Okay. But there are 3 then
3 up for grabs.
right now. Interesting.
So it was sort of one of those things of, while I know we don't really plan on going
Yeah.
doing the tobacco regs anytime soon, something to keep in mind of maybe we change that 20
Yeah.
to 16 and then
Yeah, it's an interesting point to think about that. Okay. Anything else? You want to cover? No? All right, then, if no one has anything else, motion?
I will make a motion to adjourn the January 22nd meeting of the Ayer Board of Health.
What does Steve always say? Motion has been made and accepted. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.